Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back on our YouTube account and we are going to be looking at the optimal build for a few different heroes. Starting with our dimensional heroes, we know we do have access to Marcial and we have access to Laos right now. So looking at the hero build, I want to share and I want to kind of break these down a little bit, because when we start looking at a basic build on this hero, it is a 309 E60 is the basic build. That is where you want to get her. So very similar to what we see with our Awakened Heroes at 30960, again, is a pretty basic build on here. Now, the optimal build, or where you want to get her to, is a plus 40 signature item. Now, with her plus 40 signature item, this is going to make a big difference in the ability for her to do damage. Now, we know within the Nightmare Corridor, within a couple different formations, she is doing a lot of damage. And when you start stacking her ability, even with this plus 40 signature item, the Magical Pierce is going to boost up, which of course is going to allow her to do a lot more damage, making it imperative. Again, the optimal build for her is the plus 40 signature item. When it comes to furniture, it is the 9 of 9 furniture, which we have right here. The attack rating is increased by 50% while a black magic circle is present. That is a massive boost. And then the engraving takes her to a 67. So taking her just a little bit higher. And of course, this is going to focus on the attack that she possesses. Also the crit, and I believe down here is the crit damage amplification. So again, when you think of Marcial, it is going to be all about the damage. That is the reason why players are using her. That is why the build. So again, the basic build is a 309 E60. The optimal build where you want to get her to is a 409 E67 on the build. Now, looking at the second part, or the counterpart, we do have Laos. Now, Laos overall, even though he's a warrior, even though he does have the crowd control right here, which is a primary function, he is also a really strong buffer. That is why players are running him in formations, not only with Marcial, but also out of formations without her, working incredibly well. Now, the basic build on him takes him to a plus 20 signature item and an E30 engraving. So that does not include any of his furniture at all. That is the basic build. Where you're below the basic build, you're not going to see a lot of utility out of the hero because he is missing a lot of stats. He's missing a lot of the abilities even that he possesses with his weapon right here. Now, the optimal build, or where you want to get him to, is a plus 30 signature item. So taking it a little bit further, now Trust going to 15 times doesn't seem to have a huge effect. So getting this to a plus 30 signature item, building out the 9 of 9 furniture. Again, this is optimal because of boosting up the attack rating and the defense that he does possess. And when it comes to engraving, optimal is 36. So taking this a little bit higher, I know I did build him up to the 60, but overall taking him to 36 is going to be imperative. And that really focuses on two different nodes. Looking over here, we do have haste. Now, when we think of AFK Arena, when we think of the primary ability, the primary skill, haste is going to be the one that you want to build in its entirety. And then usually the secondary one on here will be the attack node. That is normally what we see, which I believe he might be a little bit different though, because I know we have the HP, I know we have the defense, because again, he is almost like a buffer. When you start looking right here, boosting the attack rating by 40%, when you start looking at what is used within his skill kit, right there is attack rating. A couple different places do use that attack rating, which again makes a really big difference on how you have the hero built. Just like a majority of them, attack rating will always boost him up, and he has the ability to boost his own attack rating in here. Now, a couple other ones that I do want to look at and kind of thinking of the effectiveness of the heroes, and I want to build her up a little bit further on Velfura. So a lot of players were kind of questioning why I didn't have the 60 on here. Really, it was to the point of materials. So right here, we are going to take her to a 60 to increase the effectiveness. Now, looking at the skills that she has, or really the basic build, if you have the ability to get her out, basic build in here is a 309 E61. Think about that, guys, a plus 30 signature item, 9 of 9 furniture with a 61 engraving. And then, of course, looking in the engraving, remember, it's going to be these damage pieces that we have, but haste is still the absolute biggest. So this is going to take her to the 61, which is exactly where we want to build her. Now, for her, you can see we have the crit rating reduction. We also have a crit rating boost. Allies within the barrier. She is a big support. She is a big amplification aspect in here. And again, the plus 30 is all that you need. You don't have to take her to a 40, but you can take her if you want to go for that whale build. Plus 30 is going to work incredibly well. Even looking down here, this is a lot of the damage reduction, which again, survivability of her, but if it's not super important, I wouldn't build the 40 on her, even though I had. And then again, when it comes to the furniture in here, 9 of 9, absolutely. So losing energy, but also dealing 40% less damage. And in here, then the normal attack of allied heroes within it will be increased by 65%. So you are seeing a really big buff with her out of here. Now, the other one that I want to look at that I never ever remember, which is Lysander. So Lysander overall, this is another one that does require a bigger build. And the reason being, when we start looking at how he works and the functionality in here, he turns other players into different abilities. You have a king, you have a knight, and you have, I believe, rooks in here. It's going to make a big difference. So looking at the plus 40, when an allied pawn transforms into a knight, all other allied heroes gain the inspired effect. If a hero is already inspired, duration of the buff does increase. Now, again, basic build on him is a plus 30 signature item. The optimal build when it comes to this hero is actually a plus 40 signature item with 9 of 9 furniture and an E62 engraving. And when we start looking at the engraving, the 62 in here, the 60 is really good. Each time an allied rook uses their ultimate, so think about this for a minute. The way that he works is slot 1 and 2 are going to be pawns. Slot 3 and 5 are going to be rooks. The slot right in the middle is going to be the king. So again, if you think about this ability with the plus 60 engraving, every time a rook uses the ultimate, they permanently increase 20 points of haste and 20 points of attack speed. You're getting haste and you're getting attack speed in here, which is huge. Can also stack 5 times, meaning you're going to be getting 100 points of haste, 100 points of attack speed. That is going to be the maximum benefit that they're getting in here with Iron Siege, making him a really big priority if you haven't built out to actually build up this plus 60 engraving. Again, it makes a big difference. Then, of course, when we start looking in here, this is an energy recovery with the 9 of 9 furniture, but the big thing in here is the energy recovery every 100 energy every second. So think about that for a minute. 8 seconds after the effect is triggered, the 2 heroes that swap positions get 100 energy every second. Then when you're ulting, you do have the ability again to kind of overlap with the damage. And then you have the ability in here to extend the duration of the buff. So again, when we think of this hero specifically, even though he is a ranger, he is a very, very strong, very solid, well-built buffer out of here. Really making, again, the optimal build in here. Plus 40 signature item, the 9 of 9 furniture with an E62 engraving. So definitely building him out a little bit further. Now, when we look at the rest of these guys, some of the other ones, that players were kind of talking about, like Aurelia. Aurelia only needs a plus 30 signature item. If you want to take her to a 40, this can make a little bit of a difference. But again, when you're thinking of utility, when you're thinking about min-maxing, 30 does work incredibly well. 40 is really optimal where we would want to get her. And even thinking where she falls within the tier list, she is absolutely in the very, very top tier. And again, optimal plus 40 in here, basic build plus 30, or even a plus 20 to a plus 30, just to get her more buffer and more dissolve. And then we also know erosion is another one that is really, really big when we're building out these heroes. And it does make a big difference when you start looking at the power creep, when you start looking at the ability to utilize and really the effectiveness of a lot of these heroes. It makes a big difference having the materials and being able to build them out a little bit higher. All right, guys, I hope it really helped with some of the heroes. I know I wanted to cover Marcial, and I know I wanted to cover Laios, because those are 2 that are going to be available within the next couple weeks. So guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.